A very blessed morning to all the saints and friends of God in this session of worship.
Good morning, sir.
Very blessed morning to every one of you that is joining us and worshiping with us from all parts of the globe. We pray that the blessings that God has for his own children has given to us will also be your portion, whichever nation of the world you are watching from, in Jesus Christ's name. In the sermon today, I want to remind you that every word of God is a commandment to be kept. And every sermon preached is meant for you to do them. I need to say here that because we learn in a story, in things fall apart, one of the Hebrew proverbs which says, since man has learned how to shoot without missing, a naked bird is an African proverb. Said he will learn how to fly without pitching. The time has come for us to re-engineer the gospel. The time has come for us to represent the gospel. The time has come for us to dig down and, of course, have exegesis of the gospel and propound it and send it for men to use and live aright. Because Satan has come up with different kinds of forms to bring men down. So, today I'm talking to you from the book of, this time is Genesis chapter 31. Genesis chapter 37, beg your pardon. Genesis chapter 37 from verse 1 to 21. Genesis chapter 37 from verse 1 to 21. I read. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. May God make all that you do to prosper in your hand as Joseph, in Jesus Christ's name. In verse 5, the Bible is very great. Verse 4 said, and Joseph found grace in the eyes, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had, he put into his hand. Verse 5 said, and it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessings of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. I want to say here that when you have someone who is not your son or who is not your daughter live with you, the way you deal with that person will determine how God will deal with you. I just wanted to learn a lesson here. The way you deal with people who are not your own, people who are living with you, whether they are your slave or your servant or word, people under you, even your subordinates in the office, the way you deal with your subordinate will determine how God will deal with you. That is not the topic for today. Now let's see verse 6. Verse 6, the Bible said, and he talked about, Potiphar left all that he had in Joseph's hands. And the Bible said, and knew not aught he had save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. I want you to take note of verse 6. We're going to come back in here. Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. Verse 7. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. Anything you look at must give you a word to speak. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in this house. And he had committed all that he had into my hand. There is no greater in this house than I. Neither had he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against the Lord? Verse 10. And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house with him. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was flightfoot, that she called unto the men of the house and spake unto them. You know the story very much. Save time that I can talk more. She called the men of the house and told them what happened. Putting it the other way around, Joseph wanted to sleep with her, want to force her. Bible says she kept the garment until when the husband came back. When the husband was back, she reported the wrong thing to the husband. And the husband, being a good man, did not kill the slave. The Bible said because God was with Joseph, he had to send him to the prison, and not just an ordinary prison. Send him to the prison where Pharaoh and the kings kept their servants. Beloved and friends, the topic for today's sermon is called the preference for sin. The preference for sin. Preference, P-R-E-F-E-R-E-N-C-E. P-R-E-F-E-R-E-N-C-E. The preference for sin. What is preference? It is a greater liking for one alternative over another or others. A thing preferred above others. For those of you that did economics, you know what they call opportunity costs. When you choose one thing and deny the other, it is called preference. So we're talking about the preference of sin. From our text here, we see that God was with Joseph. That is what made him to prosper. The master saw that in verse 3, saw that God was with him. The Bible makes us understand that because he saw that God was with Joseph, so what he did was to commit everything that he has in his house into Joseph's hand and say, my dear, take care of all these things. Because he saw that God was with him. I want you to know this. In life, what you see determines what you do. And these things you do is determined by what you choose. And what you choose is driven by the thing that you prefer. For what you prefer is nothing but a choice of yours. In verse 3, we saw that Potiphar saw God in Joseph. Hence, it's preferred that all that he has should be ruled and run by him. But in verse 6, the wife did not see what the husband saw. The wife saw something different. Look at verse 6 of the book of Genesis chapter 37. I'm reading from New King James Version of the Holy Bible. The New King James Version of verse 6 said, thus he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he did not know that what he had except for the bread which he ate. Please take note of the part B. Part B is, considering Joseph from the eyes of the wife, from the heart of the wife, from the perspective of the wife. What does it say? Now, Joseph was handsome in form and appearance. Now, Joseph was handsome in form and appearance. While Potiphar, the husband, saw that God, in fact, saw God in Joseph, the servant, the wife saw handsomeness. The wife saw appearance. The wife saw, beauty in him. He saw handsome and saw favor in Joseph. That's what she saw. And hence, she chose to give her body, to leave her body in his hand, to sleep with her. Understand this. Two or more people may be looking at one object. Two people may be looking at one object. You know what happened? They may see different things. Two or more people can look at one object, but they may see different things. What they see is driven by what matters to them. It's driven by what is more important to them. In this case, while the husband saw God in Joseph, the wife saw what? What did she see? Handsomeness. Wow, now wow. Hey, now this fine boy. Is it this fine boy that is a slave? I wish he was my husband. I wish he was. When a woman wants to have either marry or have an affair with a man, what does she consider most? This man, when you say you want to introduce to me, so I hope he is handsome. I hope he's handsome. This man you are talking about. I was in a bus coming from Abuja, and I met a youth couple outside with me. She just went to the north for the first time. And unluckily for me, that day I just decided to go. I was sandwiched, two of them. One served in Katsina from the same school, and one served in, Niger State. They were talking in their language, not knowing that I understand their language. So I just kept mute. Say, oh boy, girl, if you see Niger State, you see all those Hausa boys, those tall, lanky, plumpy ones. Those are the ones that they follow. If you see them, tall, lanky, they, plumpy, very handsome. The other one says, is that the one? If you come to, you mentioned the state that she's serving, Katsina State. If you see those ones, those ones that are like, white, they are like, half caste. You see their hair. I know they miss those ones at all. If they just call me, I don't stand up. I beg. I know they didn't miss there. I know they didn't miss Sam. I sit down there for more than 1 hour. They were talking to. I say, hey, begin where mama, papa saying go do you service. Hey, you can't afford. So what do you think she will leave that place with? Sometimes she will live there with Bele. Sometimes she end up with the wrong person. But in the same states that these two ladies were, busy looking for those tall, lanky, plumpy, Hausa boys, those ones that are like Fulani half caste. In those same states, they were girls who did not go there to look for men, but went there to look for their future. They will all return and will be blessed and better. The topic is the preference for sin. These two ladies that I gave an example, they were in this condition because that is what they prefer. In fact, by the time they choose, Katsina or Niger State, they had something in mind why they choose it. What do I mean? People look at Katsina State as a place that if they go there, they can be importing goods from there to the south and making money. But these ladies look at Katsina State as a place they can go and look at those Fulani Hausa, men to be their boyfriend. Can you imagine? So what is in your mind what benefits you is what you see in people. Two or more people can look at, one thing and see different things. In verse 7, the Bible said, it came to pass after these things that the wife cast her eyes upon Joseph. Why? Because he saw that Joseph was handsome, according to her. The husband did not know whether Joseph was handsome. When you look at people, my brothers, my friends, those watching me online, when you look at somebody, what do you see? Do you see the will of God in them? Or do you see your own wish in those people? This is one of the reasons a Christian should dress to cover his or her nakedness. Because people look at you and sin, while others look at you and are blessed. You never know what others are seeing in you. When they say dress fine, you say no. It takes God, my brethren, to see the right thing in people and prefer holiness. And it takes Satan to see the wrong thing in people and prefer sin. The topic is the preference for sin. It begins from what you see in people. It begins from what you see in that thing. Why the husband saw God in Joseph, the wife did not see God. He saw handsome. He saw favor. Wow! When you see when you see my house boy, wow! This one where my husband bring, it's a Hebrew boy. If you see her, if you see the boy, oh! In fact, I just wish. Can you imagine? Preference. If God is with you, you will see God in others and do good. But if Satan is with you, you know what? You will see evil in others and prefer sin. The casting of the woman's eye on Joseph instead of the husband was a choice made by Potiphar's wife. Brethren, sin is a choice and not a force. Sin is a choice and not a force. That she cast her eyes on the servant. And I want to tell you something here. Who was Joseph? The woman in question was married to the servant of Pharaoh. And Joseph in question was a servant to the servant of Pharaoh. What happened? The woman now preferred to belong to who? The servants of the servant. Did you get that? She wanted to belong to the servants of Pharaoh. Instead of belonging to the servant of Pharaoh. No, she has to step down. To belong to the servants of the servants. Incredible. Incredible. The choice you make is driven by what you prefer. Here, she prefers sin rather than righteousness. To her, the choice to sleep with the servant was more convenience. Take note of that word, convenience. Was very convenient for her. Why? Because Joseph was readily available. But the husband was not readily available. Brethren, the availability of a thing is the convenience of that thing. But the availability of a thing does not make that thing acceptable to man or to God. And let me say a word here. Husband, please, no matter how busy you are, make sure that you are available for your wife and for your family. The sin here was done, was committed, was preferred because Joseph was available. And she said, this man is very young, very, 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 very handsome. And of course, anything that is available is a thing that is cheap. Availability of a thing does not make that thing acceptable to God. We see that every sinner always prefers convenience to obedience. Majority of people on earth today commit the sin they commit because it was convenient for them to do so. And people that believe in the convenience that made them to commit sin, it's very easy for me to do it. They believe in cheapness and easiness, and they are cheap and very cheap individual. Most people that commit the sin of rape, they do so because that is very cheap for them to do. They do so because the person is available, it's cheap for them to do. And the sin of convenience is a great sin that takes men into hell. The topic is the prevalence of sin. I have told you that sin is a choice and not a force. If Joseph refused to be forced into sin, you too should be able to refuse or reject to consent to sin. In 1 Samuel chapter 13, when Amnon forced Tamar, the Bible never records any sin for Tamar, but rather for Amnon. Therefore, sin is not a force. You cannot say he forced me. No. It doesn't work that way. In Psalm 37, verse 23 to 24, the Bible said the steps of the righteous is ordered by the Lord, and he delighted in the ways. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him by his hand. If you are righteous, your steps will not be ordered by what you see. Of course, we are told in the scripture that the righteous shall live by what? By faith and not by sight. So when you choose to live by sight, the thing that you can see, the thing that is available, then you are indeed in great danger. In every desire to prefer sin, there is always an option to refrain it. In every desire for you to prefer, to choose sin, I need you to understand that there is always an option to refrain it, to say no. The preference for sin is the denial of righteousness and the choice of wickedness. When you prefer sin, you deny righteousness and choose wickedness. Let us look at the theory and law of the preference for sin. The theory and the law that guides the preference for sin. The theory and law for the preference of sin is this: that there must be a false circumstance or condition or a person for which the sinner to be must consider, which puts him or her in a disadvantaged position against that circumstance or the person for which the sinner to be believed that the commitment of the sin in question will make him want to overcome the present situation. Will make him also to become equal with the person that is looking up to. And therefore the sin is a way out to make him a better person. What do I mean? The law for the prevalence of sin states that there must be a false premise, a false circumstance, a false condition, or a human being that the sinner to be is considering. One, as he is in a very tight corner, he is having a serious problem, and that the sin he will commit will enable him to come out from that problem. The sin he will commit will make him to be equal with that person he's looking up to, or to overcome that person. When this happens, and the sinner to be yield to that, he has made up his mind and is willing to commit the sin in question. How does it work? We see the wife of Potiphar here. She looked up to Joseph as being higher than her, very handsome than her husband, more than what she has. So she's looking for a way so that she can even get close to Joseph and be equal with him. I want to know, there are several ladies or women or girls that conceive for men because the man is handsome. I don't know whether you are aware of that. Hello? They carry belly. I want to carry. He said, am I too ugly to carry your child? Am I too ugly to be the mother of your child? This is what I'm talking. They have not paid a couple. They don't even know her name. She will carry a child for the man that she doesn't even know her name, or you know his name, regardless of anything else. And when this happens, why would that happen? Because she has a preference. The topic is the preference for sin. She looks at this man and says, wow, what a handsome man, and feel that she is inferior as long as she is not sleeping with this man. The same thing happened to the man, to the man. So by the time you sleep with that woman, your inferiority has gone. This is what leads for the preference of sin. The law of the preference of sin shows that one, all sins are committed because of false or inferior circumstances. The sinner found himself or the superior person that warrants him to do what he wants to do. This is why in the book of Proverbs 4 verse 23, the Bible said, protect your heart, because out of it are what? The issues of life. All sins are committed because it is expected to help the sinner to get out of the supposed present inferior circumstance, or make the sinner to be equal or greater than the person that is so jealous. The person in focus. I want us to understand here as Christians that you did not come to this world to compete for sin, but you come to the world to compete for righteousness. The topic is the preference for sin. Nobody can commit sin unless he or she sees himself or herself inferior, either to others. So you want to commit that sin to meet up and become as superior as the other person. The wife of Potiphar saw herself as inferior to Joseph and wished to be with him. As a Christian, you must not demean or look down on yourself. You understand what I'm trying to say? As a Christian, don't look down on yourself. Learn to love what you have. What did I say? Don't look down on yourself and what? Learn to love what you have. Appreciate what you have. How can another person be more beautiful than your wife? And how can another person be more handsome than their husband? Never see yourself as inferior to want to commit sin to become superior. Never see yourself as, superior to want to commit sin to sustain that superiority. In Romans chapter 12 verse 3, for I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself, what? More highly than he ought to think, but to think of himself soberly, according to the measure of faith given unto him. Never see anyone being too superior to you. No. And you want to commit sin so as to be like that person or supersede him. In 1 Corinthians 4 verse 6, and these things, brethren, have I. These things, brethren, I have in a figure transferred to myself and to Apollos for your sakes, that ye might learn in us not to think of men above that which is what? Written. That no one of you be puffed up one for another against another. No. For who maketh thee differ from another? And what hast thou that thou didst not receive? Now, if thou didst receive it, why dost thou glory as if you did not receive it? If you see somebody that is higher than you, God made him. Therefore, if you pray, God shall also make you. Apart from that, you were not born to be equal. You were not born to be equal. You can only prefer sin when you compare the present with the future. Christians commit sin. Human beings commit sin. Most of them, when they compare the present with the future. Why do people embezzle money in Nigeria and other parts of the world? They compare their present. Wow, I'm living in this big house. Suppose tomorrow they remove me from this position. That means I'll go back into that place and you that small place? No. I have been going to oversee every day. It means when I am brought down, I will not go again. No, 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 no. I have to steal money. Most sins committed are committed for the sake of the future. So you can only prefer sin when you compare your present to the future. If you feel less of the present and more of the future, you will commit sin. We must know, brethren, that sins committed are committed for the future and less for the past. Majority of all the sins people commit, they are committing it because of the next second, the future, and very little for the past. Of course, if anybody commits sin in the present for the past, is doing so to cover up the sin of the past in order to project the future. Sins committed to cover up the past will surely destroy and influence the future negatively. What do I mean? When you have assassinated somebody to take up a position, and the time comes somebody call you, I knew what you did 3 years ago. I knew what you did. In order to cover up the past, because of the political ambition you have for the future, what would that person do? He will look for a way to go and kill that person that say, I know what you did 3 years ago. Did you see that? Because of the future, the present is threatened. So he has to go and kill. Never sin to cover the past, brethren, and better the future. Esau sinned to protect the future, but end up destroying and condemning the past, and of course, destroying the future in whole. The topic is the preference for sin. When you see your present condition as being inferior to the expected condition you think you should be, you will be forced to commit sin. Never see your present condition as worse. Yeah? Is this the way I will continue? Is this the kind of job I'm going to do? To go and do this? To go and do that? Yeah? Is this the way it's going to be for me? Are you sure I will not even die before I get there? By the time this kind of thoughts come into you, truly and surely, you must fall into sin. Esau saw, seniority in, and superiority in Jacob. He saw his present condition as finished. He forgot about the past. The past is who he was. That is why he said, of what value is my present and my past to me, seeing that I die? Genesis 25:29-31. In your present, don't only remember the future, brethren, but remember the past. Remember the path that you have come from to better the future. Because the future will also become the what? The present. And the present, in turn, will become the what? The past. The topic is the preference for sin. Understand this. You can only prefer sin because you see others being superior to you. For which reason you want to do something so that you might be able to be equal to them or overcome them. When this happens, you must surely fall into sin. As a Christian, you must never put yourself in a disadvantaged position against your present condition. And never allow anyone to make you to feel inferior to cause you to sin. Of course, we are told, never despise the days of little beginning. Never despise the days of little beginning. You look at somebody, maybe driving, you don't know what he does for a living. Late last year, around November, a young man came here to my office. He said, Praise, I want you to call my mother. I want you to call my mother. I'm going to close here. I said, what? Why should I call your mother? I don't know your mother. He said, please, I'll give you a number. I said, what happened? He said, this my friend, very young boy, younger than me, very, very young, in his 20s. My friend, when I can't see this guy, when I see the car he's driving, when he took me to his house, when I saw the car, this guy has about 4 Jeeps in his house. When I entered the duplex this boy is staying, I faint. So I come, disturb him. Make him show me. We graduated together. Make him show me the way. Before you can say whether me I get hurt, I say yes. Like we can hurt. Carry me. Both of them went out somewhere. He told me where they went to. And when they got there, they said, "You want to be rich?" Say yes. They took him inside and gave him a sword. And they told him, "Look at the water. Whatever comes out in that water, strike." He said, "Pastor, I am the only child that my mother has." The child then lives in this town called Woji. Said, "I'm the only child of my mother. And my mother has suffered hell to train me in school. So when I saw my mother come out crying on that water, they say, strike now. What did they wait for? You say you won't reach. Strike now. As you don't reach here, you know if you go back home." You say, "I don't know what I go do. Pastor, now I run. I fight them. I run, come out. Now I run, can't reach here now. What's I go do?" Because they tell me, say, whether I run or no run, the person who stand here, he don't go with that. "Pastor, please call my mother and tell her what happened." "Yeah, I'm the one to call your mama and confess your sin." Here. So, when you see people, you feel inferior. You never know what they do to have what they have. You feel you must be equal with them. Can you do what they do? Are you willing to live for 6 years or 7 years and die? Is that what you want? You want to mortgage your life? This young man ran out and came here for deliverance. If you prefer sin because you look at people and you see riches, I want you to know that you regret very soon. I never live a better life altogether. Christians must not put themselves in a tight corner. Christians must not, put themselves in a condition that will make them to prefer sin. If it's not good today, surely it shall be good tomorrow. If you don't have enough today, I say to you by the word of the Lord, tomorrow you shall have enough in Jesus' mighty name. You don't know at what age God said you make it. You were not there when you were created. God has an age that everybody will have to make it in life. And until that age comes, struggle, suffer, sweat, jump, come down, go up. When that time comes, you will just sit down in your house and one phone call, you'll be made who you want to be. Brethren, do not prefer sin in order to be who you want to be. Rather, prefer God, and God will make you what you want to be. I pray that you find grace and accept these words. And the song will be raised. If you are not baptized, if you are online, please drop your name, drop your phone number. And if you find yourself in the condition I have just give exegesis, just drop your name and number. We'll get you to Jesus Christ and you become a Christian through water baptism. God bless you if you do this in Jesus' name. Amen.
691. Sinners Jesus will receive.
Sinners
Jesus will receive. Sinners Jesus will receive.
I am here to welcome you to Jesus Christ. If you want to prefer Christ rather than sin, just rise up and be baptized. Rise up and be a child of God. Rise up and go to water baptism. Rise up and live right before the Lord. Rise up and prefer Christ. When you prefer Christ, you cannot prefer sin. But when you prefer sin, you have chosen to prefer Satan. Are you ready to be baptized? Are you ready to prefer righteousness and abhor sinfulness? Are you ready to prefer Christ and abhor Satan? Now is the time. Here is the moment. Are you ready to prefer righteousness, or you still want to prefer sin? If you were baptized in a denomination, you are not a Christian. Ephesians 4 verse 4 down said, there is one church. Others are denominations. So to belong to a church, you have to be baptized again, the second time, into the church of Christ. Look at Acts chapter 19 from verse 1 down. You see people that were baptized, but were not members of the church of Christ. When they knew the gospel, heard about the church of Christ, they got baptized the second time, and God bless them. May God bless you as you do that in Jesus Christ's name.